Another NBA offseason is in the books, and this one was full of wild trades, veteran reshuffling, and some bold front office swings.
Big trade in the NBA, it is not Kevin Durant. The Grizzlies are trading Desmond Bain to Orlando.
From Kevin Durant moving again, to teams cashing in on their role players, to franchises choosing to rebuild, I went through all 30 teams and tracked every significant addition and subtraction. Today, I'm ranking every team's offseason, not just winners and losers, but by tiers. Who made championship-level moves, who played it safe, and who left their fan base scratching their heads. I'm Anthony Goods, the Stanford gentleman and former NBA scout. I appreciate y'all for tapping in. Please hit the like and subscribe button. The NBA season is around the corner, so I'm going to give y'all my thoughts on the moves that were made this summer. Let's dive in. Here's how I evaluated each offseason. Number one, impact relative to team need. Did they solve weaknesses or did they create new ones? Number two, value versus cost. Draft capital, contract size, age curve. These are the things that I'm looking for here. Number three, fit and synergy. Does the roster make basketball sense for the coaches and the stars? And lastly, number four, timeline balance. Are they building for now, for the future, or are they kind of stuck in between? With that in mind, I divided the league into 4 tiers. And at the end, I'll let y'all know my top 5 off seasons and the teams that took the biggest gamble. Now we ready, so let's get started. Let's start with tier 4. These are the teams that are in rebuild or kind of seem a little directionless. We're going to start with the Washington Wizards. They're still in teardown mode. CJ McCollum came in via the pool trade shuffle, but it's more about contracts and picks than real talent. This was a placeholder summer. I really like their young core, but I still think they're a ways away. The Utah Jazz were in another year of asset collection. They brought in Nurkic and they stayed flexible, but the on-court product still takes another step back. I love the Ace Bailey addition, but they're still missing some pieces. It'll be very interesting to see what moves they make during the season. Now let's head out to Portland, where the Trailblazers traded Anthony Simons for Drew Holiday. But this is still Scoot Henderson's development year. I think Scoot's going to have a big year this year, but I think the direction is clear. They're in for a long rebuild. Up north, the Toronto Raptors made small incremental moves, but no bold additions. They continue to hover in that awkward middle. They're in desperate need of a star now with new leadership. Maybe they'll make some things happen this year. But at the moment, they lack direction. The Sacramento Kings are also under new leadership, and they had a very quiet summer compared to what was expected. With the West improving, a stand-pat summer feels kind of like a loss. And the last team I have in this tier is the Chicago Bulls. They made moves around the margins. Brought in Isaac Okoro, but there's still no clear reset. This franchise feels a little stuck, though I'm a big Matas Buzelis fan. I actually had him number 1 on my board a couple years ago. Now we're going to move on to tier 3, and this is where some teams made some questionable moves, or they didn't move enough, and that gave me more questions than answers. I got mixed emotions about this group. Let's start with Boston. They moved Drew Holiday and Porzingis, adding Anthony Simons and younger depth. That's a bet on offense and youth, but it cost them a lot of IQ and defense. They may have taken a short-term step back. I think Simon's going to have a breakout year, this being a contract year, and with Tatum out, I think he's going to get a lot of touches. Regardless, I think they're going to have to add pieces next season. The Charlotte Hornets re-signed Trey Mann, but moved on from Mark Williams and Nurkic, leaving major front court questions. It seems like they might be moving forward with Kalkbrenner, which I'm not mad at all, but the direction of this franchise feels a little murky. I don't have a clear vision for their exit out of this rebuild. Now on to the Memphis Grizzlies. They traded away Desmond Bain to Orlando for KCP, Cole Anthony, and picks, which all of this signals a reset to me. If they're healthy, they'll compete, but this was a future-leaning move. I still think Memphis has some pieces, and I really like Isolo over there, so maybe they're going to figure it out. Now down bottom to Miami, they had a very quiet offseason by their standards. Depth pieces came in, but nothing to push them forward towards contention. I think Norman Powell was a great get for them, and I think he's going to have a big season, but I still think they're lacking some star power. The Indiana Pacers took a big hit and had minor additions, but their offseason hinged on health more than any acquisition. Not a bad summer, but not a great one either. Across the way, we'll go to Detroit, where Karis LeVert came in, Tim Hardaway Jr. went out, but overall, this was more asset juggling than solving basketball problems. I also think that losing Dennis Schroeder was a big hit for Detroit, and it'll be interesting to see who does the majority of the ball handling when Cade is out of the game. Still expecting a big year for Detroit this year and a return to the playoffs, though. The Orlando Magic brought in Desmond Bane, and they took a big swing on shooting and spacing, but they gave up depth and future flexibility. High variance move that could go either way. I like the immediate value for the rotation, but it's one of those moves that it better hit. And last in this tier, we'll talk about the Dallas Mavericks. They added Cooper Flagg in the draft, but they're limited by cap flexibility. They have some future potential, but for this year, the roster didn't really jump forward to me. Now, tier 2 are teams that I thought made solid and/or safe decisions this offseason. The Philadelphia 76ers made incremental adds, with most notably the re-signing of Quentin Grimes. Nothing flashy, but continuity and depth behind Embiid and Maxey. And I'm really interested to see how Jared McCain fits in the mix with all of these players. The San Antonio Spurs added Luke Kornet and continued building around Wemby with size. Not a big splash, but a clear commitment to identity. I think the Spurs are definitely headed in the right direction. You add a little more shooting and that team could be scary. The Brooklyn Nets, I thought, made some solid moves, acquiring Michael Porter Jr., Terrence Mann, and Haywood Highsmith. Even though they lost Cam Johnson and it's a gamble on MPJ's health, I think it gives them more shooting and length. Back out west, the Golden State Warriors added Al Horford and Seth Curry, and they were able to re-sign Kuminga and Gary Payton II. They got some veteran stability around Steph, but they're squeezing every last drop out of this core. Age isn't necessarily on their side, but they still have a very good team to me. The Los Angeles Lakers added DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart. Ayton gives them a real big man presence, even though he's a bit inconsistent. Marcus Smart will bring some defensive leadership, and I think for both players, it's the best fit that they've had in years. I still think the Lakers could use an upgrade on the wings. Milwaukee did well replacing Brook Lopez with Miles Turner. I think he fits perfectly next to Giannis, but with Lillard gone, guard creation is now a glaring hole. They're still a playoff team, but ceiling is TBD. And lastly in this tier, the Los Angeles Clippers re-signed James Harden, and they added Brook Lopez. I think they're betting on one more run with this core. Their depth has improved, but the aging curve is a real concern. But with Bill, Lopez, Harden, and Kawhi, I think they definitely have some pieces. And finally, tier 1, these are my teams that bet big, looking for game changers. We're going to start off with the Atlanta Hawks. Adding Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Luke Kennard, plus a draft night heist of picks. They upgraded spacing and rim protection while adding future capital. To me, I think this was a consensus winner. Trae Young is still dominant. Dyson Daniels is dominant on the defensive end. Risha Shea is coming into his own. And I think Jalen Johnson is on the cusp of becoming a star. I really like the Hawks roster right now. The Cleveland Cavaliers brought in Lonzo Ball, Larry Nance, and Thomas Bryant. If Lonzo is healthy, this is a sneaky, strong offseason that I think balances the roster. He gets them added size and some playmaking from the guard spot. Cleveland's going to be a problem this year. The New York Knicks added some front court depth to build around Brunson and Towns. Nothing shocking, but it was smart roster building. After the success of last year, you just want to maintain and take a baby step forward. And out in Denver, I think adding Valanciunas as a backup to Jokic was one of the most under-the-radar wins of the offseason. Throw in Tim Hardaway Jr. and Cam Johnson, and the Nuggets address depth issues without losing core identity. I think the Nuggets are going to have another strong season. And of course, the Houston Rockets were the headline of the summer. The Kevin Durant trade was a 17 mega deal, and they also added Clint Capella and Dorian Finney-Smith. This is a bold pivot to win now. Risk is high, but so is the ceiling. Had Van Fleet not gotten hurt, I would have really liked this roster this year. And lastly, we got the OKC Thunder. They didn't need to do too much because they won the championship. You extend Shea, you extend Chet, you extend Jalen, and ran it back with 95% of the same roster. Sometimes the best offseason is knowing when not to panic. The public enemy number one, and they've earned it. This roster is still deep, they defend, and I think they're going to have a lot of success again this year. And the Thunder lead off my top 5 teams from the offseason. For the OKC Thunder, continuity is underrated. Extensions, discipline, bringing back a championship team. They're building something that lasts. For Houston, Durant makes them appointment television. The gamble is obvious, but I respect the swing. Go big or go home, and they went big. Denver's also in my top 5. Quietly plug some depth gaps. Jokic gets a real backup. Wings got deeper. No fanfare, but just competent basketball. The Atlanta Hawks had one of the best asset balancing summers I've seen. Added shooting, added size, and kept future flexibility. They might have had the best summer. And with Cleveland, Lonzo's a swing piece. And now for the biggest gamblers and moves that I think are probably not going to pan out. The New Orleans Pelicans move to match Jordan Poole with Zion. I can't say that's a bet I love. A healthy, motivated Zion can definitely move the needle, but I'm not sure Jordan Poole is the savior. And the Phoenix Suns, trading away Durant was necessary, but now they're in a reset with limited star power. They're not competing next year. I've been hearing mixed things about everything going on in Phoenix, but hopefully they can dig themselves out of this hole. And the Memphis Grizzlies, moving on Desmond Bane signals a step back to me. If this is a rebuild, fine, but I don't necessarily think this trade made them better. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a big move this season. But that's my 30-team breakdown. Let me know in the comments who you thought had the best offseason and who you thought had the worst offseason of last year. Tell me if I'm sleeping on the squad or if I overrated them. But I appreciate y'all for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Stay tuned for the next video. I'm out.